Hi, Ashima. My name is Ellen, and I will be correcting these essays for you today. Let's take a look at what you've written here. It's the homestay, English and homestay letter. Dear Sir or Madam, I hope this letter finds you in the best of your spirits. I, Ashima Sayal, have applied for my homestay with you and your family for a period of 6 months. In response to your letter, I am glad that I will be spending my quality time with you all. Currently, I am an undergraduate student for bachelor's in English literature course. Okay, um, you have the right idea, Ashima. Um, but what I'm finding is that some of the language you're using is a little stilted. It's not really very natural. Okay. Um, so I would like to give it a little more natural feel. So, for example, dear sir or madam, uh, and another thing that didn't really make sense is if they've already sent you a letter, then you should know their name. So it wouldn't be appropriate to have dear sir or madam, would it? Maybe you could have said, Dear Mr. and Mrs. Smith, or something like that. Dear Mr. Jones. Okay. So, we wouldn't say the best of your spirits. We would say, I hope this letter finds you well, or I hope this letter finds you in the best of spirits, but I prefer the first one. I hope this letter finds you well. It is a formal letter because you don't know these people. You've never met them. So it certainly should be a formal letter. One of the things that we often do in formal letters is we first, before we do anything else, state the reason for our letter. So for me, for example, it would start out with something like, I would like to thank you for agreeing to be my host family during the English and Homestay program. Okay. With this letter, I would also like to introduce myself and ask you some questions I have about my upcoming stay in the UK. Okay. So that's kind of how I would start it. And then I would say, my name is Ashima, and I am an undergraduate student in the Bachelor's of English program at XYZ University. Okay. So that's probably what my first paragraph would look like. Okay. However, to fix kind of what you wrote, I told you about this sentence, and then I, Ashima Sayal, have applied for a homestay with you and your family for a period of 6 months. That's fine. In response to your letter, I didn't really get this. I am glad that I will be spending, um, I wouldn't say my quality time. I would have said this period with you all, because what that does, this period, it's kind of a cohesive element to go back to this 6 months. Okay. So I am glad that I'll be spending this period with you all. Currently, I am an undergraduate student. Um, if you're an undergrad student, then it's implied you're seeking a bachelor's, so you don't need to say that. Currently, I'm an undergraduate student in the English literature program at XYZ University. Okay? All right. There are a few things for which I wanted to inquire about. All right. The grammar here is awkward because you have for which, but you also have about. So it's a little weird. It should be, there are a few things I wanted to inquire about, or there are a few things about which I wanted to inquire. Okay, that makes it grammatically correct. First, I am clueless about public transportation in the UK, owing to which I have no idea of my commute to reach a university. All right. First of all, clueless for me feels a little informal. Like I said, it is a formal letter, and so you want to use formal language here. So first, and yeah, you really want to use this opportunity to show that you have a good handle of formal language. So perhaps you could say something different. You could say, first, could you please advise me regarding public transportation in the UK, period. Um, or how about, since I have never been in your country before, I have no idea how to commute to the university. Okay. So furthermore, could lowercase c here, could you help me to open a bank account? Uh, banking facilities, or a banking facility, probably banking facilities, plural, are the most important thing to have in this day and age. I reckon no comma here. Other things I can manage at my own end. All right, well then don't mention it. Honestly, don't even bother. Remember, you're supposed to ask some questions. You've asked about transportation, you've asked about banks. Maybe you could have said something else. Maybe you want to know if you can find vegan food in the area, or maybe if they can recommend some cultural things for you to do while you're there. Okay, so I would have maybe added another thing, but this I didn't really feel like it helped you at all because you're supposed to ask some question. So if it's not a question, then don't include it. Okay, now, well doesn't really fit here. Okay, I would have just started the sentence like this. I will be traveling to the UK next month on the 25th of April, blah, blah. My flight is expected to land on the following day, on April 26th, 12 noon. If there are any change in plans, I will let you know timely. Mm, I will let you know immediately, I think is better here. I'm looking forward to meeting you all soon. Okay. Profound regards is also another thing we don't really say. It's not natural English. And since you started your letter with Dear Sir or Madam, your sign off should have been yours faithfully. This is how we sign off when we don't know the name of the person we are writing to. So you have the right idea, Ashima, but like I said, I felt like a lot of your language was not really natural. It felt like a very kind of stilted, kind of old-fashioned language, like with the profound regards. It's not something we use in natural English, okay? So just be careful about those things. And just little other grammatical things that we talked about, okay? So the right general idea, but it does need a little work. So let's take a look at your marketing, international marketing task too. Marketing has become an inextricable part of the economy. You do need a the here. Whether all right, there's some awkwardness here. So, marketing has become an inextricable part of the economy um, for both developed or developing nations. Period. It is almost irresistible to the businesses. I would have gotten rid of that sentence. First of all, irresistible definitely feels like the wrong word. Okay. It's not that like, oh, they can't resist and oh, isn't it so lovely? We want it. We love it. It's more like it's an unnecessary thing. I mean, you can't have an international business without international marketing. So, um, let's see. Marketing has become an inextricable part of the economy for both developed and developing nations. Okay. Uh, international marketing is all the rage these days. While some suggest it has no, while some suggest it has become more intrusive for the home country, others consider it as an important tool in the growth of the nation. I believe there should be a rational balance between local and international markets. Okay. So the grammar was all right, but I do feel like there wasn't a logical flow between your ideas. Um, they didn't seem to kind of link together in a nice flow, and that's what I would have wanted here. So you said that, let me see, it's become an inextricable part of the economy for all nations. I would have also gotten rid of it's the all the rage these days. So I would have made some further changes. Let me show you what I think I would have done. Marketing has become an inextricable part of the economy for both developed and developing nations. Uh, with the world becoming ever more global, um, companies are using international marketing to reach new markets or to reach new customers. While some suggest this type of marketing is more intrusive for the home country, others consider it as an important tool in the growth of the nation. Does that make sense? Did you see what I did? I made it more about international marketing and how it's important if you want to, get a global customer base. So I would have changed around I would have taken out actually these two sentences and I would have replaced it with something that has more to do with international marketing being almost like a necessary evil, okay? Because people are trying to develop a global customer base, okay? All right. So, now let's talk about your thesis statement here. You said you believe there should be a rational balance between local and international markets. What is that really answering? Are you saying that it's intrusive and invasive, or are you saying that it's a wonderful tool for education and exchange of ideas? Because this is not particularly clear to me. Okay, so I really wanted you to be a little more specific and tell us if it's if you think it's invasive and intrusive, or if you think it's um, a great educational tool. So this for me felt kind of vague, and I think you need to make it more specific. Let's keep going. There is no denying the fact that the credibility of international markets has become a moot issue. What does that mean, the credibility of markets? I'm not sure about this. I really don't know. Of international marketing, maybe? This is unclear to me. It has fostered an unhealthy competition among local manufacturers who find it hard to compete with the higher standards of foreign brands. For example, in 2019, the findings revealed that India's GDP rate has dropped drastically, not dropped down, dropped drastically because of a huge influx of foreign direct investments, which is why the government has started a campaign of Made in India. No, which is why the government started a campaign of Made in India in 2020. Okay? Uh, okay. Now let's look at this. Economies of different countries, especially the underdeveloped countries, are shaking in the presence of marketing of foreign products. Okay, so let's think about this paragraph for a minute. Okay, so it's my understanding that this is supposed to be about how marketing, international marketing, is invasive and intrusive. I didn't feel like it absolutely captured that idea. Let's talk about this. I don't think you meant international markets. I think you meant international marketing. But I also don't believe that what you wrote here really is clear. The credibility of international markets or marketing, I'm not sure, has become a moot issue. What are you telling me? What does that really mean? Okay, I didn't think it was particularly clear. And then you said it fostered an unhealthy competition. Um, okay, with the higher standards of foreign brands. But we're talking about the marketing of those brands. Okay, so here I'm getting the sense that you might not be totally clear on what international marketing is. Um, so higher standards of foreign brands. It's the marketing of those brands and not the brands themselves, not the product, but it's how those products are marketed. Okay, so for example, since you mentioned India, let's say Nike sneakers. Okay, when they are marketed in India, that marketing, that advertisement that you see, is changed to appeal to the Indian customer. Okay, and that's what they mean by international marketing. It takes the differences in each culture or each region into account and kind of changes the message in that way. All right, so in that sense, this didn't really make sense to me. I felt you might have been talking about trade, international trade, rather than marketing. So this sentence didn't really work. And then you talked about huge direct investment. Again, this is trade that you're talking about, and this is foreign investment. So there's nothing about international marketing here. Okay? And then this sentence too really just felt like it came out of nowhere. Okay? So it didn't flow, it didn't make sense with everything you've written. So for me, this paragraph is a little it's a little weak in terms of task achievement and also in terms of coherence and cohesion because it doesn't feel particularly cohesive. Um, and as far as task achievement concerns, it really didn't develop and support the ideas that it was supposed to. All right, so let's continue. In recent years, international marketing has become a buzzword. It is the biggest game changer in the field of marketing a product. Because everyone has accessibility to the imported products, it has successfully raised the standards of the customers and their preferences. Okay. Decathlon, for instance, is an international sports brand where a customer can easily get the products which are not manufactured locally. On top of that, not it, these products are affordable and not price sensitive. People are not only conscious of their choices, but also about the vastness of the product range and their possible uses. It is clearly evident that such international brands are nothing short of a boon for customers. Okay. I feel like part of this is talking about marketing, part of this is talking about trade. You're supposed to restrict it just to marketing. Okay. So a lot of this is about trade, the accessibility of to the foreign products. Um, and again, you can get the products. Um, Here you're talking about marketing, and that's okay. But that really felt like it. The rest of it was talking about trade. So again, I want to remind you what international marketing is. And you're supposed to talk about how it can help exchange ideas, culture, language, and be a very inexpensive form of education. Okay. So again, you've got some nice language, buzzword is nice, game changer is nice, accessibility to something is nice, raise the standards. All this language is lovely, but the message is not what it's supposed to be. Okay. It doesn't feel particularly focused on what it's supposed to be focusing on. Okay. All right. So, in conclusion, my stance is that the wisdom prevails in allowing the market of only those products for which there are no easily available substitutes. All right. This whole thing for me is very awkward. Yeah, this whole sentence. The wisdom prevails in allowing the marketing only of those products for which there are no easily available substitutes. Okay. Abolishing, and then this doesn't make sense. Abolishing international marketing does not hold much water. This is not the expression you want here. That said, people should also consider buying products which are manufactured locally. If the products are not durable, there's no shame in switching to international brands. Um, okay. Now, here, I really feel like you're introducing a brand new idea, and you're not supposed to introduce any new ideas in your conclusion. You're really just supposed to wrap up the main idea of what you said and then just leave the reader with like a thought provoking sentence or some sort of prediction for the future. Okay. And remember, we're talking about marketing, not trade. So the promotion of these products internationally. That's what you're supposed to be dealing with here. So I definitely felt like you didn't really quite grasp that aspect of the idea. Okay. Now, I don't want you to be too discouraged about this. This is probably one of the harder essays that students have to write. Um, so, maybe on a different topic, you would be much more on topic and it would be fine. But this did have some issues. Okay. I'd like to see more work from you, Ashima. I really would like to see you take a look at the online course. I think you're going to find it really very helpful in getting that coherence and cohesion down and also in task achievement. Okay. Also, there's lots of other information that will help improve your writing in all the other areas as well. So do take a look at that and see if it's an option for you. I certainly recommend it. Okay. And I want to wish you tons and tons of luck.